Hey everybody! All right, let's do a fun winter scene. Now there's a whole lot of ways you can go about doing this. Okay, thanks autofocus. So this one, I actually started with a pink background and I love that little bit of vibrance that shows up. You don't have to have a brightly colored background, but I just sort of love the way it pops that off the page, makes it a little bit more interesting. But let's experiment with a couple of different colors in the background. That way you don't feel stuck with one. You can always go with a basic hot pink. You know me and my neons. Recently discovered this one from folk art, which is bright pink or rose. Oh, that's it in French. Okay, rose vif, whatever. It's a lovely pink. It's a cooler tone, not quite neon. I really love that one. I'm also feeling like maybe a yellow green would look kind of amazing against a good navy blue. So we're gonna pull that guy out. And then for giggles, we're gonna try bluegrass green. Now, I'm not expecting you to do all three backgrounds, but I figured I would at least start and kind of section out the canvas in three separate background colors, just so you could kind of get a sense of what each of these looks like. So I'm just gonna cut it in pieces here. Let's see, we can go a little wider with this guy here. So getting kind of your fattest brush, pick your background color. Now, if you're like not really sure and you want to try even a different color, I looked at orange and I looked at red and I was like, well, one would seem patriotic because of all the blue and white. One would seem like somebody's school colors or other. So I opted for two that are kind of like analogous to the blue, and then the pink, which would be a beautiful, beautiful contrast. You don't have to have a perfect coating of paint, right? It can be a little bit just rough. We are okay with rough. Now I'm going to offload in my handy dandy book. I haven't used this book really, I think, even since I moved. Holy moly. Hello, gorgeous. This is my stock prospectus, the famous one that if you've been painting with me for a while, I've seen it evolve. Anyway, okay. Go ahead and rinse your brush. We really don't want to get any pink in those next set of colors. And I think just for blending purposes, because this, whoops, dropping the lid, bright yellow green is a little too warm. I'm not going to have it go next to the pink. I'm going to go with the bluegrass green. And you could, of course, do like mermaid tail teal or any other kind of, interesting color. Because if these two blend, you're going to get just kind of like a purple. But we'll start over here away from the pink, which allows this edge to dry before we get to that next yellow green. Although, again, those colors should blend okay, so it's not the worst thing in the world. Now, hopefully this stark difference between these backgrounds won't really be obvious once we get like the sky and everything painted in, but it's definitely going to affect how the trees look. So if you want to even make it subtle, but again, I'm not expecting you to do a whole series of stripes unless you want to do the test piece with me. So again, I encourage you to watch this kind of at double speed or even hit the forward thing and just kind of fast forward at 10 seconds at a time, sort of quickly. Here we go. I'll do a slight blend in this section just to kind of, it didn't really blend, did it? We have to offload first. All right, I'm dropping things left and right. Don't mind me and my banging. So I'm just getting rid of all the excess paint from my brush. I'll grab a little bit of pink and I'm going to see if I can just get that to blend a little. And that's more just like me being anal retentive. Like, you get like this wild hair and you're like, oh, I got to do this thing. And suddenly it kind of becomes a monster. Well, there you go. Now you even see what it's like to have a little bit of purple peeking through. Could be interesting. Might not. I don't know. Offload, offload, offload. Use that extra spare scratch paper. In fact, when I'm teaching paint parties and stuff, I often will bring a whole handful of those kind of folded paper towels that you would get out of like a paper towel dispenser. And I just say, hey guys, use at least one of these for offloading your brush, getting rid of the excess paint before you go ahead and rinse. Okay. And now we'll grab that yellow green. And on this one, since this green is probably starting to dry a little, just going to blend a little bit. There you go. Now you almost get like a border of festive green. And again, do not feel like you have to do your background like this. Although who knows, it might look really amazing. Oh, I love that blend. All right. Now let's focus on that sort of more, well, yellow-green. Seem to have picked up a few hints of the other green. So you could even blend this with, you know, some other green just to make it not feel straight up like a yellow. In fact, that in comparison to this looks like yellow. I pledge to you it is not. So I'm just going to blend just a smidge of the mermaid or the bluegrass in there. Again, we're just trying to get really nice, vibrant, colorful backgrounds. Should be interesting. I'm just working the pigment into the canvas. Oops, got a little color block over there. No biggie. So that gives us a lot of interesting things to work with. So again, go ahead and offload. And if you're just picking one color, then, you know, you can go ahead and break out your hair dryer, get it dried quickly. And I'm going to go ahead and also do the blow dryer. This is the perfect opportunity to either fast forward or get up and grab a snack while you're waiting for your paint to dry or waiting to watch my paint to dry. It's always the most interesting part, right? Not. I just want that paint to set so that I'm not dragging any of these colors into the next batch. I'm looking for shiny spots. All right, I think that's pretty close to good. Yeah, it's close to good. Okay, so from here, you're going to want to grab a pencil. This one is actually you can just regular one. This is actually a Marxall or an Aquarelle, whatever it is, an all Stabilo all pencil. You by no means have to have an all pencil, but this is helpful just to kind of sketch. So say you sort of figure out where the midpoint is, you know, the middle point here, and then you're going to come down maybe halfway down that. So you're at kind of the quarter to a third mark. Just kind of draw like a sort of a little sloping line there, and then maybe a little something that kind of peeks out like so. Yeah, you can see that. Very good. Okay. So then you want to think about having some tall trees and some less tall trees. If they're all the same and super even, it's going to get very repetitive and look stilted. Oh yeah, that's exactly the word, stilted. So what we want to do is create kind of a rhythm of tall, wide, you know, short, flat, not flat. You know what I'm saying? All right. So I'm going to kind of start right around in this zone and just draw kind of a lineup. So this is one of our bigger trees. And then maybe we'll do a smaller one here, and then maybe a smaller one yet here. Now these are fairly evenly spaced. When drawing big fluffy trees, it is hard to have them really vary, especially since we're using kind of blopped on colors. But we can do another set of trees here, maybe one that comes like so, one that comes like so. Then we'll have a little something peeking up here, and we will not actually finish, if that makes sense. And remember, this guy kind of comes down. We'll have him kind of terminate there. And sometimes you say, okay, I want, which one's the dominant one? I want this one to be dominant versus this one. You can bring it slightly below the horizon line. Hopefully that makes sense. Then we'll maybe do something, I'll get it taller than maybe like to here. So it's a little shorter. And then maybe another one kind of right next to it. So we want to have kind of like a clump, a clump, a clump. So 3, 3, 2, and then maybe another 2. So we'll do a really tall one up here that maybe comes like so. And maybe he's hidden behind the other guy who starts here. All right. So you see how that kind of moves around, and that's all we really got to do. This is water soluble, so it'll dissolve. Nobody will ever see it. Again, if you're wondering about that, I'll just leave it out here so you can see. It's a Stabilo Allmark pen. I don't know. They're kind of cool. There's so much potential in those. So now, depending on the size of your canvas, this is an 11 by 14. I'm going to grab a rather larger fluffy brush around. This one is technically a size 12 from Sargent Art. Whether that means a darn thing in the rest of the world, I don't know. Some of these paintbrush manufacturers do their own thing. So let's squeeze some white and some True Blue. We're just going to get those colors out on our canvases because we're going to be doing a lot of smush smush mixing, right? Then we want some deep midnight blue or navy blue. Doesn't really matter. Close enough. And then some black. Now, you know, black plus True Blue basically equals navy. So I like the black at this point really more for muting my other colors and adding a little bit of darkness than anything else. Because sometimes that navy isn't quite dark enough. So we're going to begin by getting the snowy part. And let's see, we're going to grab a little bit of that True Blue. I'm going to just go ahead and mix it over here. A big old blop of white, and it's okay to mess up. Get your white a little funky. So that white there was about a 1-to-1 mix. I'm going to just kind of get that in, start up here, and just kind of follow that horizon line. And it's okay if you're going right over those lines that you made in terms of which one was dominant. It doesn't matter. I'm going to stop here for a second, do another one that goes like so. And in fact, it's going to be important to get some of the color in on this back guy before we finish this guy. But we'll do it anyway, just to kind of help your brain know where the stuff is, right? And then we have kind of a slopey here, and we may or may not keep that. We'll see how it all ends up. Okay. So now we're going to take some more white and just plop it right there into whatever you have left. I used up all the paint I had. I'm going to add a little bit of navy. See how that flattens it out? It makes it a little bit more gray. I didn't have to add my black yet. And I'll just come in right here, maybe kind of blend a little. You can even use your finger to kind of smush along there. Just smush. And if you don't get full coverage, okay. Like, look, little bits of green are sticking out. Cool. Just kind of come in here, blend in a little bit along those edges. I'm gonna grab a little bit more white as I run out and just kind of just keep filling it in, and maybe just kind of blend. Oh, sorry. So I just keep kind of adding white to this smush color, and then I kind of come along there and just kind of fill in, allowing it to blend in a few spots. Again, the beauty of having this little bit of background color peeking through is it makes it interesting. And you know, if that stays, great. If it ends up getting covered up, also not a problem. We're not stressing here. We're having fun. Okay. So there you go. You've got a basic snow. I don't want that to look like lines. I want it to kind of, so I didn't want it to be like a blue line and then white below it. Maybe just a smidge more white kind of plopped in here in a few spots. Kind of keep it interesting. You want a little bit of texture in there, right? Okay, good. Oh, where'd my, okay, offloading my paint. Now, this here got a little bit much, so I'm going to just kind of bring back a touch more of the blue. Sorry, I'm wanting a little something there to kind of delineate those better. Maybe a touch of navy, just a touch. I feel like I'm messing it up. It's fine. Okay. So you saw I got the navy along here, and then I kind of just smush blended it out. And a little bit more white along the edge here. Here we go. This is how we're, sometimes my brain does one thing and my mouth says something completely separate, and it doesn't really help. So now I'm bringing just a little bit more white back. There we go. There. Now we have one piece in front of the other, and it's very crystal clear, and we're good to go. Whew. Offload that brush, get all the excess off. Now, I find myself a little bit torn if I should step down to a smaller brush or go for it with these trees with a slightly larger brush. For most of you, I'm probably going to recommend that you go with a smaller brush. In fact, sometimes the base layer is better with a smaller brush, and then we can come in and plop and floof out the trees with a larger brush. So I'm stepping down to a Sargent 8. And again, you do not have to go with these exact sizes, but you can kind of see the difference in terms of the sizes of those. So don't forget to rinse your brush or you will be hating life. And then of course, dry it off and set it aside, and we're going to move on. Okay. So here's where we're going to grab a hunk of black. You could even do just straight up black if you want, but I like to tone mine a little bit with just a touch of navy, so it's not quite as stark. Think of it as creating a Payne's gray almost. It's navy blue. You can't really see that in the light. It all looks black, but it is lighter. Okay, so now we have all the tips of these. So we're going to start, roll up those sleeves. Don't get them in your snow drifts. We're going to start kind of right at the tip and just kind of do a few dots, just dot, dot, dot. And now, as much as we always paint trees in triangles down, we're actually going to do the branches kind of triangling up, because they grow up and they kind of get weighed down by the snow. So we're going to kind of just, see how I'm kind of just dipping across and creating, see, hopefully that makes sense. I'm almost thinking of kind of zigzagging back and forth, kind of making smiley faces, getting a little wider and wider, and I'm not going for full coverage, but I do actually need to draw that stick in there. It's not a stick, the trunk. We'll draw those all in now with the paint. But the beauty of going in with pencil prior to that, this was the one that came down, right? Okay. The pencil prior to that is really helpful, just so that you can be like, oh, yep, I like it. Yep, nope. You can tweak as much as you need to. I think we decided this one was dominant over this one. This guy was the really big forerunner. We got this one here. And this guy here. Now, because he kind of begins to grow behind these two, we're not really going to see the trunk much further down than, say, there. And we just get them in as we can. Oh, Cat, you do not get to go outside. I'm sorry, my dude. This one, I'm going to actually have it come down onto this. And then maybe have this guy. We'll have him stop here on the second one. And some of this may actually disappear, and it's okay. But it's kind of fun to just put that form in so you have a sense of where it is. It's like cold outside and raining, and the cat thinks he wants to go outside. Andy has a cold, so I'm being a mean blue cat mom. No, poor baby. I'm going to let this guy kind of come down a little bit. Okay, good. So back to our smiley face zigzagging. And now by coming in here, I've picked up little bits of the wet paint in there. Not a big deal. Just kind of keep going. And again, you see how it's sort of pointing up? It's almost like painting like massive size pine cones. I don't know. So a couple of dots at the top just to kind of soften that. And so I tend to be a little bit more delicate dotting kind of towards the top. And then just kind of zigging and zagging. So you want to make sure you're coming across and getting a few streaks of paint across the trunk, but parts of it are still showing. And, you know, this guy could be like fatter and this guy could be thinner. And I think we decided that this guy who was dominant. I don't know. We'll figure it out later. We don't actually have to know right now because we're kind of just putting in like the base and the shadows. Oh, Beastie, no. He's been known to like walk across my painting and like leave little toe bean tracks everywhere. Okay, and we're just gonna keep going. Lather, rinse, repeat. So I feel like you kind of get the sense of that. And, you know, sometimes right in here, I'm getting a little carried away with my zigzag and staying too connected. And you don't want to actually, you know, you're kind of moving in a zigzag form, but you probably don't want your audience, so to speak, or the intended viewer of this painting to really see that it's a zigzag. But also, and so the zigzag is important because if you just do straight lines across, it's going to be like chop, 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 chop. And so being able to kind of angle and it keeps it a little bit more random and sort of in line with how Mother Nature might do it. And so kind of lost some of my cone shape here. So again, just kind of plopping it in, coming out here a little. And see how loose that is? It's like dot, dot, dot. It's a little bit amorphous blobbish over here, and that's fine because we're going to continue to add layers. And so a lot of this background color will begin to begin to go away. Oh my gosh, I just blopped like a metric ton of paint there. Like boop, 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 boop. Okay, there we go. See, you can kind of recover from mess ups too and just kind of blah, 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 blah. And so you can kind of do a solid lines or just blah, 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 blah. I mean, it's actually really cathartic. I'm like, blah, 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 blah. Can you see how I'm kind of zigzagging? And so sometimes the zigzags will leave gaps, which we like, right? That's very natural. You know, I feel like my best view ever of pine trees, especially those covered in snow, is like a couple years ago when I went skiing. You could just sit there on the lifts and see them, and you're like, oh. And also, the tops aren't always perfect cones. You know, they're not always perfect triangles, and so that's okay if you get a few strays. Just don't tell your esthetician that it's okay to have a few strays. All right, here we go. So this one will kind of have maybe sinking behind on the hill, and then we'll have this guy maybe dominating just a little bit more. These guys are biggie, so we want to just all right, I picked up some white, no bigs. No bigs. Okay, now this guy, up again, dot, 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 kind of coming up. Lather, rinse, repeat. I feel like now is the time to fast forward, unless you're painting along with me. But if you're like, okay, Wendy, I got it. What's the next part? We'll move on to that soon. So do you see how I just kind of stopped there? Because that was sort of where the two pieces joined. So you have a clump of three. You have another clump of three that kind of smushed together, but still also feel, you know, distinct and separate. And just keep grabbing just kind of some navy and some black. And again, not focusing too much on the exact perfect proportions. This is a reverse, kind of a background tone. It's just making sure that we've got some good shadows built into the design, so that as we come over it with a lighter sort of dark time tree colors, you know, paints, you kind of see what's going on. All right, so this guy is dominant, so I make sure that I have him sort of fleshed out through to, well, like so. And this guy, boop, 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 technical sound. And this guy, because he's kind of merging into the other one, you can do a few in here, and then you can just kind of focus more on building out that one side. And so structurally, even though there kind of leaves some gaps over here, it gives that sense of layeredness. It allows you to kind of have better definition on this guy, while still leaving a few of those exciting gaps. I think they're exciting. Okay, and then this guy's the dominant one. Do you see how, like, making the decision about which one is dominant first, it really helps inform how you go about painting and structuring this. When I am just kind of messing around and getting ideas out there, I don't always decide on dominant until I'm in the middle of painting it. And then things get a little mushy at times. And so, you know, we're learning from my prior mistakes and or impetuousness. Ooh, gosh, I almost want to just leave that guy like that, because that's kind of more what you're going to see. You know what? I like it. I'll leave it like that. It's not how I did the original, but now I might change my mind, but I just sort of think that looks good. That's what it really looks like off the ski lift. Not that we're going skiing now, but boy, I'd really love to. I'm not sure I'm going to hit the slopes this year. Not with some of the health issues we've got going on with Mom. All right, here we go. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm gonna be honest. I like that. I feel like that adds even more rhythm. Now it almost looks like we've got some northern lights going on. I'll have a good unintentional something or other. Okay, so you don't really have to rinse your brush. My navy is here, my black is here. This is my kind of my somewhere in between. I really want to go heavier on the navy, so I'm gonna, but I've got a lot of black in there, so I'm gonna just add some of that true blue to kind of get me to some sort of a muted navy. And you really can't tell because it's of the lighting, but I'm also gonna grab a big old scoop of white, plop it in there. Still a pretty dark color, right? I mean, that's a good, just sort of boring gray, but gray blue, right? There's plenty of blue in there. Okay, let's do this. We are going to, and this is still wet and it's no big deal. We're going to kind of come in and do some more over that. Just some more filling in. So it's a fairly dark gray, but you can see how it is still a lot lighter than the black. You're going to kind of put the emphasis on those a little bit more on the left side than the right side. See how that kind of fills it in and gives it a little bit more form. It's a little bit more substantial now, but yet we still have little cute like bits peeking out. Okay, I gotta mix some more, so I'm doing some black and some blue. Some more white. It's a big old mess, right? But no biggie. I'm just kind of coming in, and then it starts to kind of blend with the background, but that's okay. Yep. Few dots up here, kind of coming in. Again, we like that little bit of black peeking through. Those shadows are subtle but important. And again, more emphasis in the gray on the left side than the right. Or if you decide to, oh, okay, I went too far on that one. It's okay. I just sort of got into my zone, but that's okay, right? So we want to make sure we're kind of filling out this guy here. I just took this center one down a little too far, but are we stressing? No, we're not. And so here I'm even doing more just kind of blobbing in. And this is where you can kind of let the bristles of the brush splay a little bit, and it's, you know, it's not a big deal. If you got a stump kind of poking through, okay to just do the occasional highlight. I'm not going to worry about it through here because that's really in shadow. So we're going to come in here, and again, emphasis. This guy was kind of in the background, so we may just sort of fade little bits, a little bit in the, kind of in the center zone. Give this guy a smidge of space. I got carried away over here, but you see how we kind of have, there's a little bit of black on this side here. I'm just doing a few dabs kind of in the middle on this one that bring some of that gray down, but still have some dark, still maintain the darkness on this side. And while it's not going to stay darkness, that's what it is for now. I got to mix just a pinch more of this stuff. I'm definitely going to need to add some white to my palette soon. All right. That there gray I just mixed is close enough. Ba, 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 ba. Notice every time we add some color and whatnot or something to the trees, they just get a little bit taller, like a little bit taller and a little bit taller. Oh, I love it. Okay. And a little line along this trunk here on this edge just to kind of add some dimension a little bit here. This guy's almost going to just creep right off the canvas. And so this guy, again, because they're starting to come together, I'm going to begin to shift some of that color, kind of that mid dark gray towards the center of the tree to protect the differentiation between the two. And again, we'll continue to dive in on that differentiation. We have a few more coats to do. And then in this guy, we want a little line on that trunk. So it's already kind of shaping up and getting interesting. I think we can get a whole lot more interesting, so we're going to do that. All right, I've got some good gray here. I'm going to kind of pick it up and sort of that blue, gray, black. I'm going to move it over here. If you need to mix more, you can. I'm going to add some more blue to it. And then I'm going to just take a whole hunk of white. And my goal is to get lighter. I think I actually need to just add more white to my palette. But that is definitely lighter. Let's just double check. Bump, 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 bump. Yep. Okay, good. So we're getting lighter now. Actually, it almost looks just kind of like a battleship gray or something. So I'm starting on the big guy here since he's kind of one of the more dominant figures, and I definitely need more white. Just kind of plop it in. You see how now we're doing this lighter gray. It's still a dark battleship on the right side of the tree. Let me add more white to my palette. All right, I am good. Get a little bit over here. Okay, that banner that's kind of bum, 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 bum. All right, so this guy's getting some dimension. A little bit along the top on this guy. Again, we're going to go a little bit light and then shifting some of that gray stuff. Now, what you're going to find is because we're working wet on wet, as you come over this, your brush is going to pick up that other gray. And so you're going to need to continue to add white to your paint as you come back for more because it's getting darker by picking up the gray that's already there. So that's good enough. And then this guy being behind, I think we said he was behind it, behind this guy is also not going to show a ton, but we can get a few pieces in the middle there too. So this part I always find it to be a little bit more complicated. Okay, so bloop bloop. So we'll add, see I'm picking up some dark, so I got to add some white to it. Getting some good, actually it's getting pretty light, isn't it? Yeah, touch of blue. But it's okay if it's a little light. See, now I just picked up some black. And again, it's fine if you've kind of got a range of shades. Like perfection is really not in our vocabulary for this one. This is a very loose, freeing fun. I mean, I don't know. I just love letting loose and going. All right, so here we go. Another treetop. See, you just got a little taller on me, and I'm kind of dabbing and dabbing, adding more emphasis. These guys here. I'm going to add a few more dots in this zone to help a smidge with the definition. We will pull it off, I promise. And let's see, dominant guy is here. So I'm going to just kind of come in and start from the bottom this time to kind of just make sure I'm really saying, hey, here are the bounds with this guy. Oops, that's getting awfully light. But it's okay because we still want to add some more highlights. So it's not really the end of the world. You can occasionally just bring a few bits like all the way across the tree. So like I'm just coming back like, oh, I want a little something here. I want a little something here. Grabbing a little bit more blue and smushing it in. I keep picking up black, so just adding more blue and I gotta make sure I don't pick up pink by accident. I mean, unless you want to do pink trees. And that's the beauty of this is, you know, we've sort of picked a tone. You could do like magenta and fluorescent pink instead of black, or you could do purples and pinks, but you have to be careful about them just kind of getting mushy. The beauty of the rest of this is it's nearly kind of monochromatic except for the background that we're adding in. Monochromatic being kind of all the ranges of navy blue. Some with a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. The values, you know, the high chroma, low chroma, i.e. lots of black, not lots of black. But look how that's just kind of shaping up. I mean, this is fun, right? Don't have to be able to draw. You can kind of just zigzag your way through the triangle. Now, granted, letting loose and relaxing and just kind of blopping your stuff in, it takes a minute, but that's almost why we start with the black, right? Because it gives you a chance to kind of get the feel. And if you mess up, well, who cares? It's the background color. Then we add another tone, but look at that. We've got some trees showing up. Now they've sort of gotten progressively lighter. So I'm going to just add a little bit more white to that smush and kind of come back in. And actually you can just kind of come in and do a few extra highlighty bits here. Whoops, that got a little spitty spotty, didn't it? Just do a little something to kind of make it look tree-like. I also like the minimum amount of rinsing of the brushes. Oh, I love it. I love it. Bum, 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 bum. Yeah, so it's a good dominant tree. So we really want some of the highlights there. And here's where we can kind of help differentiate a few bits. Like this guy can kind of get that feel there. Oi, I'm sorry about that autofocus. Not sure why it's being so sensitive today. It's usually pretty cool. Okay. So we're going to do ourselves a favor and recede this guy in the background and kind of pop these guys to the front by that next layer of kind of white. Now it's not a pure white, right? I got all kinds of gray bits, just kind of, all right, fumble fingers, smush it on in there. Oh, do a funky smear. Very wet in here. Very, very wet. But luckily, plenty of opportunity for this guy to just kind of air dry. So we're going to give this guy a little bit more body there. So those clumps are making sense, right? Just a few little kisses on this one. Maybe even a few little bits out there. Something here. Kiss, 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 kiss. Kiss, kiss, kiss. Who did we decide was dominant? I don't remember. I guess this one makes sense to be dominant. So maybe just kind of just kiss the tips of that guy. Kiss a few tips on this guy. A few little extra bits here. Again, notice we're not really adding a ton of white. It's just a few little blips and blops, especially along sort of the highlighty edges to really pop that guy. And there's another cat. Yes, I am a crazy cat lady. I'm just going to have to admit it. Crazy cat lady. Oh, is that you, Spot? It is. Oh, no, it's Bandit. Tito Bandito. All right. Oh, you know what we didn't do is add some of that lighter gray to the trunks. I was going to say the stems. Oh, where's my head at? Okay, but see how soft and light that is? Oops, that's a big old chunk of white there, but I'm just kind of catching it. So it allows us to really have a wonderful nuance. Then maybe you can even do like a little stripe kind of just, whoops, down the edge of that trunk. Well, you just kind of can't see it now. All right, good enough. Hi, are you coming up, kitty? Just do not step in my painting, okay? Nope. You can go somewhere, just not on my painting. Yeah, kittens. They're not trained yet. All right. Again, just dip along here. Let me give that guy a little bit more fatness. And now here, actually, you know what? I think my new favorite background color might be this green, but I don't really know. I'm kind of loving it all. So I've got a pinch more of that kind of light blue gray. I'm going to add just a touch of that kind of in the midst of these tree trunks here. Is that working? Not really. All right. Touch of blue, white, whatever. Just kind of get it. All right. That'll do the trick. And a little kiss on this guy too. Nah. Okay, very good. So that already is looking pretty fun. You could totally stop here and be like, look at this crazy rainbow sky. I love it. But I think that we're really, for the holidays and just, well, not really the holidays, but for this time of year, the winter, it makes sense to and we called it a snowy night or snowy evening or something like that. Snowy evening. So we're going to go ahead and do the thing. I'm going to add, I want a little purple in that sky. I do. I want a little purple in that sky. Let me grab my purple. So of course we're going for a dioxazine purple. This area here is pretty much dry paint, so I'm just going to pour the purple right over top, and I'm going to step up back to my larger fatty brush. I'm going to grab all that blue and just smush it on into the purple because I still want it to be more of a blue color. The purple is also lovely. Some pretty good depth there. Add a little touch of black. Please don't regret this, Wendy. Just to night it up a little. That way it's not completely vibrant. And we're going to just kind of come in with that lovely kind of purpley tone and kind of dab around. You know, get the edges. Give your trees some good space, right? We're going to start off by getting the easy stuff, and then we'll come in and do the details and get in around them. But just really cover up 99% of that background color. Hello, kitty. Oh, no, no. And, you know, if you've got little, you know, parts of your purple color that are more blue, parts that are more purple, parts that are more this, parts that are more that, it is A-okay. So you notice I'm just kind of chunking the color around. I can come in here and chunk. And we're trying to get mass coverage first. We'll deal with the details in a minute. And the reason being that if you focus on all the details right now, you will be sitting here for the next 5 hours. And you'll be like, well, I spent all this time on the details, and you're not going to feel done. So let's get the big, easy parts just whacked out done. And then we can come in and focus on the details. And also, if you're using this design to teach a party, that's for my inner circle members only, who have the rights to actually use that for this. You know, it's a way to quickly move the party along so that you're not sitting there for like 6 hours waiting for everybody to do their thing. Okay, but you see how we're filling that in? We're starting to get like a lovely midnight kind of sky. And the character and tone of each of these zones is going to feel a little different based on the background color. Like this is like a cooler green, and this is a brighter green. Excuse me, a cooler blue, a brighter blue, and then we have this one's even more purpley now. It's very wet right now, so it's creating a pretty good glare, you know, of the studio lights and the camera. So I'm going to come in and kind of start dipping around and dotting around. And in here, I don't have as fine a control with this large brush, so I may opt to go a little bit smaller. I also may not. You want to leave a couple of gaps. You want that background color to kind of peek through. And if you're like, ugh, Wendy, I don't like it, then you could start with a black canvas, by the way. And then your first base layer of trees would just be something like a very dark gray, or even just a navy. It would still show. But I really love the vibrance and the action of that background color. And I know that's why you guys come to me, because you like color. You know that we have a ton of fun with color. And I'm occasionally getting a little sloppy around some of these trees. Some of those dots at the top are starting to accidentally cover them a little bit here and there. A little bit in here, a little bit in here. Look at that. Isn't that neat? Actually, this kind of looks cool, the rainbow stripe. Maybe we could even call that a composition. But the idea is you can even say, hey, I love this look. I love this look. I don't like that. I know we did this in one spring with an Easter bunny painting where we did a different base background or canvas toning. We toned the canvas in 3 or 4 different colors just to kind of see what it was like. And it was really fun. I got votes from everybody. What's your favorite? What's your favorite? And Quite honestly, there was no clear winner, which is why I like this, because you can literally say, hey, what color suits your fancy? Tone of canvas. Very first paint party I ever attended, way back ago. Way back machine. All right, I'm making just a smidge more. And in fact, since we're kind of coming down, I'm not even going to add any of the navy or black or anything to it. And I'm going to go with a much purer, higher intensity purpley blue down here. Oh, but this brush is saturated. And I'm also going to come in and do a few blip blops in here. Oh, this brush is super saturated. What am I going to do? In fact, that's lovely. So some of this has black on it. Some of it is just the brighter high chroma blue. That's going to give you a lovely kind of texture in the sky. It's a very wet painting, my friends. Very wet. Wet and gooey. That's okay though. All right, I need a smaller brush. I am not going to successfully get in here without making a holy mess and wrecking my trees. So I'm just going to offload as much of the paint from this fatty right here, and then I'll wipe it off, and then of course rinse it off. Oh, I do love that color though. That's a beautiful combo. Rinsity rinse. Okay, it definitely needs to be washed with soap and water, but it will suffice. So and then we can just kind of come in here and fill in a few gaps. And if there are any like glaring sections where you're just like, oh, I can't deal with all that color, then you can kind of come in and fill it in. So like along these trunks, you can kind of more smoothly edge them. And then maybe like along the, what is this, the snowdrift, you can edge a little bit, but it's also okay if little bits of green or whatever background color you've got peek through. And then along this edge here, I'm going to just kind of come in and I'm going to bound him in a little bit. Otherwise, it kind of has this weird bleeding off the page feel that's not a good, purposeful, intentional bleed off the page, but feels accidental and inadvertent, which is not what we're going for. Now, if you have any gaps in here where you feel like, oh, that's just a little too much, you can kind of come in, nip tuck. Yeah, so this big brush, and here's where we're tuning the details. The big brush I was using previously kind of had the bristles splayed a bit, and so this allows me to kind of bring it back in. And then you can add a few bits of the blue sky color, in a few spots here and there. Oh, here we go. Oh, all I can say is yes. Oh, I love. Okay. I really, yeah. Thanks for letting me experiment and play, you guys. I just pow. Okay. But you know what we need to do now is a little moonlight. So I got a lot of paint on my brush. I'm going to grab a little bit of white and I'm going to make a smushy blue and white color right in here. You got to do the blending first on your palette. I'm going to just do kind of a circle right in here. I'm going to kind of just move in to the center. I don't want it to be too bright. I'm going to kind of come out and just blend and blend and blend. So it kind of creates a lovely glow. I've got a lot of like paint buildup on my brush. I'm going to just kind of try to, there we go. Bring that out. You can kind of keep going with that if you're getting little bits of light, but keep it very, very subtle. Very, very subtle. And now we can grab a little bit more white. Come back into that color that you blended on your palette. And then start again in the center to create kind of, whoops, I'm really picking up the dark in there. But to kind of pick up a little bit more moon colors. So I always like to begin sort of subtly. I don't know, y'all figure out the word I'm supposed to say there. With subtlety. All right. And now it's starting to solidify, but we've still got that nice glow. I've got a ton of paint on my brush, so I'm again, oops, get to my offloading page. I'm gonna offload the excess just so that I'm not dragging tons of stuff around and making mud. And I'm gonna lift a little of that paint here. Again, maybe blend it out a bit. Now we have to do this piece kind of last like this on top of the blue because we need it to blend. Now I'm going to bring a little bit more white in the middle. I think that'll do there. What I really want to do is almost add like a turquoise color or something to it. I feel like a little bit of teal. You know, I'm going to grab some of that teal mint. Just a kiss. And here's the deal. One kiss, just like a tip. Just a little tiny kiss. I'm going to smear it there, smush the rest over there. Grab a whole hunk of white and see what I can kind of come up with. Yeah. Yep, that little, it's not teal mint. What the heck is it? Bluegrass. That's a coolness. Oh, there you go. Finger painting, my friends. That really does a nice trick. That, oh, look at that. Now you almost get like a cool, like light colored halo effect. Fingers are neat. Most people don't really like to get dirty, but boy, sometimes it does a lot. There you go, feeling like Van Gogh. Oh, I'm gonna laugh. Somebody the other day on Facebook referred to Picasso as a Renaissance painter, and I was like, okay. Pretty sure he's a 20th century painter. All right, so there you go. Now you've got that beautiful glowing moon. It's subtle, right? It's not like kapow in your face, but it's a nice background. And now if you want to add little bits of snow, you can. We're going to have to add a bit more. Well, I need more white on my palette. I don't know about you. Now, there's a couple ways to do this. You can use the tail of your brush. I find that you have to dip, dot, dip, dot, dip, dot, and it makes me a wee bit crazy. So sometimes I'll just rinse my brush and make sure I've got a nice clean point on it. And I'll just kind of come in and now you could actually make these, let's make them stars, not snow. So, you know, make them all different sizes, big dots, little dots. Kind of clumping together, spread out. Kind of keeping them, allowing them to kind of hover outside the halo of the moon. I just want to add a little bit of lightness to that. I don't know. We'll see. So notice we're kind of varying the sizes. All right, this might wreck it. I just want to do a little bit more to the moon. Just adding some pure white. Just brighten it a little bit. We really don't have to be fancy here. All right. Look at that. I had all that good halo effect over here and I got off center. So we'll just kind of shift it down. It'll be a little bigger. It's fine. Like I said, I might wreck it. It's been known to happen when I just get all extra. And again, sometimes when I don't get something quite right, I figure it's always kind of good to like sort of see how to recover from something. Hey, do not roll on there and flatten my stuff. Okay. I don't know that that's appreciably different, but I think it does. I think the moon is just a smidge lighter. Whoops. Almost put my brush down in a flat shape. Oh, it's still flat instead of a nice rounded. A few extra bits in here. All right. Again, don't forget to kind of clump some of your your dots together. They feel more natural that way. Huh, there it is, my friends. I hope you had a blast painting this cool snowy evening, and I can't wait to find out what background color you use, or if you decided that, hey, you know, Wendy, that actually looks cooler than I thought. I'm going to do it all. So I'll tell you, now that I've done it, I think it looks amazing. All right, I love you guys, and we'll see you soon. Oh, wait, hold on. I just want to put a little white kiss on this branch here. Just a little white kiss there. Okay. Boop. And maybe a little white smoosh. Yeah, just a few, like a little white. Come on, white smoosh. I'm trying to white smoosh. A little bit there. Yep. Oh my gosh. Kittens are trying to climb my Christmas tree, little rascals. There we go. So we've got a lot of shadow going, but now by bringing a few spots into the foreground and the brightness, again, I'm just flopping, smudging some white on, super random. If you come up real close, you can, wait, here we go. You can still see there's pink showing through some of the blue. I literally just blopped the white right on top, but we maintained sort of the blue haze line along there, and maybe just a kiss have to be a little bit more subtle here, but just a kiss a white in there too. And again, this is okay if it's slightly blopped on and kind of sketchy scratchy. Hey, autofocus, don't mess with me. Come on. It went blurry. What the heck? Hey, boop, boop, come on. Okay. Well, I guess we're going to end this note slightly blurry unless I can get it to redo. But I feel like you kind of got the gist of it, right? Oh, there it is. Have a great night, you guys, or a great day, or a great morning. Bye. Bye. Maybe.